Hey guys, what's up? It's Deprimido. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here in FL Studio and I'm going to be breaking down Donda type beats. Donda is the most recent album released by Kanye West. Everybody knows who Kanye is. He's one of the most famous rappers and producers ever. He's an inspiration to pretty much everybody, to be honest. But let's get into these beats. So starting off with the tempo, they're either going to be kind of slow, around 110 to 130 BPM, or they could also be around 160, but it's not really going to be anywhere in between there. It's kind of just going to be one or the other. And that's a theme you're going to notice a lot with these beats. There's kind of different routes you can take with a lot of things, so we'll get into that a little bit later. But for me, I'm going to go with a little bit faster, so I'm going to go with 160. And next, talking about the melodies, there's again a few different routes you could take. The first one is going to be kind of a dark orchestral or choir type of thing, kind of like you would hear in Lil Baby songs. The other is kind of an ambient synthy pad type of melody like you might hear in Drake songs. Or you can go with kind of like a happy gospel type of organ melody. That's what I'm going to be going with today because I think it's just a little bit more interesting than the other two. It's less common and it's not something that other people really do so much. So this is the little organ melody that I decided to make. It's just a couple chords. It's really simple. So let's talk about the effects on this a little bit. As you can probably hear, it's a really harsh sound, so I wanted to cut the highs out just a little bit, and then I also just cut out the lows quite a bit because I just didn't think they sounded super nice. Then I've got the second EQ. Organs tend to have a lot of really harsh frequencies, so I just went in and found some of those and dipped them out a little bit. And then we just added some reverb, pretty simple. Now it sounds like this. And there's really not all that much else that we're going to do with the melody. These beats are super empty. I was actually really surprised when I started breaking them down how empty they really are. But they really don't have a lot of counter melodies. What you might do is find some sort of sample. It's usually going to have some sort of like Christian imagery or something like that to put in. But I'm not really going to do that. I just don't like sampling so much. But if you want to do that, it's definitely something you can do, and it's in a lot of these beats. So moving on to the drums, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. Now these beats don't always include a hi-hat. There's actually a lot of songs on the album that don't, but if you're gonna add one, there's kind of two routes that you can take. The first one is just going to be like a standard trap hi-hat. You're pretty much just going to do a two-step pattern with a few rolls, and then you might also want to throw a low pass filter on it. Lots of the hi-hats in this album aren't really very noticeable. They're turned down pretty low, and they have a pretty harsh low pass on them, so they don't have a lot of high end in the sound. Now the second route you can take, you're going to pretty much do the same thing with mixing, but this is going to be more of a boom bap style of hi-hat. This is what I'm going for. Now the way that I did this is I actually got two of the same hi-hat. I put one on the on beat and one on the off beat. I turned the second one down a little bit, and then I just played around with the shift knob in here. I just moved that up a little bit, and then I moved it up a little bit in the first one as well, but less. Now I've got this effect going. You can just hear that that's a little bit more bouncy than just a regular two-step hi-hat pattern would be. And as I said, you're probably going to want to throw on a low pass filter with these ones as well, and also turn it down relatively low. Then for your clap or your snare, you can do either one. You're going to want to go with kind of a weirder sound most of the time. I went with this. And the pattern's just going to be pretty standard. Now for the 808, this is actually where the album has the least variation. It uses the same 808 a lot of different times, and that is the Z808. And the patterns are pretty simple as well. This is the 808 pattern that I came up with. Next, I added this little sub bass pattern, which sounds like this. And I also added this little kick pattern. I'm not really sure if I'm going to use it or not, but it's in there in case I want to. And this is actually all I'm going to add. It's only 6 or more like 5 sounds because the hi-hats are pretty much the same thing. But as I said, these beats are super empty, and the thing about this entire album and a lot of Kanye music is that you gotta remember Kanye himself is a producer, so there's a ton of post-production that goes into these songs with the arrangements and different effects and different sound effects and just different stuff like that. Most of it is not done on the front end. A lot more of it, especially the most important stuff, is done after the vocals are done or while the vocals are being done to kind of flesh out the song. But this is kind of where you might want to start. You just got to keep that in mind. You're not really going to be able to make an actual Donda type beat unless you actually have somebody to rap on it and get you to where you might need to be in order to do that post-production. So next I'm just going to mix it. If you guys want to see my mixing process, I'll leave the video up in the card above. So for a mix, I already showed you the effects that I put on the organ originally. I did actually go in and cut out a few more harsh frequencies just because they were kind of bothering me, and then I just separated it a little bit to make it a little bit wider in your headphones. Then on the hi-hat I threw on a quick low pass filter, and I also threw on a phaser and just turned down the mix. Then on the clap, all I did was boost the highs a little bit and just a little bit of EQ on the kick. I wanted to kind of make it stand out more in these low mid frequencies, which is where the actual punch of the kick is really. Then I just cut out some of these highs and the lows to help that a little bit, and then I just brought down the mix to about 50%. Then I put the clap and the sub bass into mono because you don't want to have elements like that to stereo, and those were both really stereo sounds. And then I just leveled it out. Pretty simple mix. Now I'm just going to arrange it. Again, there's not really a great way to arrange these beats because so much of it relies on the vocals, and so most of it is done in post-production, so there's not a great way to really arrange these beats, but you can just do a pretty standard arrangement and that'll do the job. So that's about it. I'm going to play the beat at the end of the video, but first I'd like to thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Also let me know what you thought of Donda down in the comments. Make sure to go follow me on Instagram. When I reach 2,000 followers, I'm dropping a free MIDI kit. Also subscribe here on YouTube because when I reach 300 subscribers, I'm dropping a free loop kit and we're getting pretty close. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.
How did Deprimido make this slap so hard?